let's see. In 1989, rock and roll had kind of hit a stumbling block. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? The venues weren't there. I was with Head East. You'd think that they're about to be inducted into the Illinois Hall of Fame.
Hmm.
Uh, Glad to hear that. But the
Does that
venues were
does that
horrible.
put you in the Hall of Fame? Because I mean, you were a member for quite a while, right? So
It sure does.
yeah,
But I am me, Joel Parks, Donnie Hiles.
yeah,
We're all part of that Head East alumni,
yeah.
and several others too. Because the album that I
Oh, I mean, it's a
contributed,
wow.
Choice of
What a
Weapons,
list.
man, half the guys I just mentioned were on that record.
Yeah,
I quit before they put it out because I was ready to move on with my life.
yeah.
And the summer after I quit in November of 88, summer of 89, they had released that record and changed all the credits. And so me and people like Joel and Brian Kelly, who played on the record,
Yeah.
they put us, it's extra special guest, you know.
Yeah,
Uh,
just to be reminded, you were essentially a guitarist in the band, right? You weren't the front
I
man or
was,
anything like that.
I played guitar and I sang half the songs.
Okay, so you
We had,
were part like halftime lead
right.
vocalist.
A gentleman by the name of Kurt Hansen, who had
Okay,
a beautiful rock and roll voice. He sang John Schlitt's part.
okay,
I took over and sang Steve Houston's part.
I gotcha.
In other
So
words,
was
if you
it
listen to,
always basically a dual vocalist band?
yeah, because Kurt's voice was strikingly similar to John's, and John, you got to admit, had the most unique,
Yeah.
recognizable voices out there. My voice, I'm a, I don't know what I am. I used to be a second tenor. Now I think
Mhm.
I'm a bass singer. But back then I could sing those parts that Steve Houston could sing, just like Steve. So that was Roger Boyd's. That's what he wanted to accomplish, and I owe him. I owe Roger Boyd a lot. You know, he's. I think he's turning 82 this year,
Wow.
and he's still on tour. He's got a band that looks like his old band and sounds even better.
Yeah.
Uh, so I'm real proud for him. That's a trooper.
Man,
You
it's
know, we have a
awesome
love
to
hate.
see that these bands are still existing in some capacity, even if it's not the original founding people. I don't know how a lot of people out there feel about that. I'm kind of hit or miss about it, like, having different members with the same umbrella, the same brand. Like having a new lead singer of Linkin Park, which has kind of been a big news item the
Yeah, that's
last couple of
right.
years. Like I kind of
I
flip
know.
flop on that, man. But I guess it's nice in a way to see that the band still live, in some way, right?
Right. I'm human. So
Yeah,
I'm like you. I flip flopped on these tribute band things.
yeah.
But if you come to Dallas Fort Worth, that's all a lot of
There's
places are
so many
buying
now, aren't there?
everywhere,
Yeah.
and they get awards, they get nominated to do things. So the band that Roger has right now, it Raj, don't take this wrong, but it is like a tribute band. These guys got it down to the T how the old record sounded.
Yeah.
When I came in, I kind of brought in, Ricky Lynn Gregg, and you know, it worked for Roger. I don't think he made a lot of money off that record, but you know what? I'm proud to be part of the alumni and proud to have contributed a record which
Yeah.
actually started out as a Ricky Lynn project
And I mean,
record.
let's be real here, man. You're part of rock and roll history and country music history. And I mean, that's insane to me. There's not too many people out there that can legitimately have a beef or a say in both genres like that. And you do. And it's not just Head East, Savvy too. Like both of those bands just even to this day have a huge following, right? Like it's almost like a cult
Still,
following, and I
oh
love
man,
that. It's like the James Gang, right? With Bubba, like that. Those
yeah,
guys, like you just
yeah,
hear about it all the time. They have a huge
no
following
doubt.
still. You know?
When I came back to Dallas, I had some issues with being comfortable around people, kind of like agoraphobia.
Yeah,
And Lucretia goes, nobody's going to recognize you. We go to Kroger's. This is like when I first got here. We go to Kroger's, and the guy goes, Ricky Lynn.
yep.
And he goes, man, I saw Savvy. So here in the Metroplex, they know me as Ricky Lynn
Well, I
Savvy.
mean, DFW is a thing, right? And I mean, you're still playing out there, right? This is an active musician, guys. I mean, still shredding out there, and still has the chops. The vocals have come back, which I'm so proud of you for, and You and I have talked about that in the past. I know you didn't really
Mhm.
feel real comfortable with your vocals, but they have come back to
Yeah,
some extent, right?
they have come back to some extent, and you know, it's kind of mind-boggling because when I can't, I was in a coma. You and I were we were associates and colleagues at that time. When I came out of the coma, everybody came in and said, "Man, you're a miracle," and la la la. But my main cardiologist came in and says, "Man, I'm sorry to tell you, but I don't think you'll ever be able to sing
Hmm.
or play guitar again."
Right.
Well, he was right. And playing the guitar, being an AFib so long, uh, and then going through that NDE that I went through,
Hmm.
it really made my time in whack. And I want to thank Donnie Hiles, and I especially want to thank Ricky Roach. These guys, they invited me into their band and let me get my feet underneath me. And it actually took 5 years, 5.5 years, and to be able to get my timing right.
Hmm.
But I'm proud that my guitar playing's come back. The singing I'm working on, but I'll tell you, if my singing was a 9 before all this happened, it dropped down to 1. But I can tell you right now, my voice is good. I am working on being able to do a whole show,
Yeah.
longevity, and I'm close.
Well, I heard you recently. I thought you sounded great. I told you so. You know, I've
You
always been a
did.
champion of yours, and
You did.
I want to give you some credit here too. You gave Donnie and Ricky some credit for you being here. I also want to give you some flowers because I mean, during those times where you didn't feel real confident in your voice, you were giving other vocalists a chance to shine with the band, and you just sitting back and playing guitar. I was real respectful of you in that, and
Well, thank you.
all the
I
different
thank you.
singers that got a chance to sing with Ricky Lynn, right? Myself
Yeah,
included. I'm one of those. So
absolutely.
yeah.
That's you were a guest. Of course, you're always welcome on my stage. You know
Oh,
that.
I love you, man.
But coming out of my NDE, I began to meet people that I felt in my heart was very special people.
Hmm.
It was ironic that they could sing. I'll tell you a great example, and you know her fairly well, is Carrie Lee.
Yeah.
And not Carrie Lee number one, Carrie Lee number two.
Yeah.
She was a singer, and I just found her soul comforting. And that's what gave me the idea. Say, I think I can pull through this if I could get a few people to help me sing. And Carrie was one of them. Donnie was, of course, always there. Um, so I felt it was important to keep music going
Hmm.
because that's all I am, Boston Chris. I
Yeah.
don't
I know you
my
fought through those times, man. I know you did, and
yeah,
it was a tug of war between passion and health, and I saw it, and a lot of other people
yeah,
did too. So I'm glad you're able. Like I see you on stage now, and you're just so comfortable. You don't look sick
yeah.
anymore when you're doing it, and
Thank you.
yeah, honestly, it looks great. You still sweat. I mean, but that's who you are, right? That's
Hyperhidrosis. That's who I
right.
am.
That's
Right.
part of it, right? So
Yes.
um,
And I got to throw some kudos at Bubba and Mike Sauce. Bubba
of
with Sauce.
course,
Bubba
yeah.
Keith. Um, they were very patient with me joining their band. It started back in, I think, December 2019 that they invited me in. And all through this time, man, I was clocked. I wasn't physically healthy, but they stuck with me. And the last show that you saw was really my first show where I felt I almost got it all right.
Yeah.
Almost. Of course, that's working with Donnie, working with Bubba and Randy Shea and uh, and Mike Sauce. Mike Sauce, one of
Man,
the
I'll
most
tell you,
incredible
it's a
singer guitar
great
players.
fivesome. That's for sure. It just
Isn't it though?
man, it's an incredible time, guys. If you
Yeah,
see them anywhere on a bill out there in the Metroplex or beyond, make sure you're checking that out.
yeah.
I don't care how old these guys are. If you're a fan of music, you need to go. Just trust me on that. And
Well, Bubba, Bubba's got, he was with England then and
yep,
John Ford Coley.
yep.
I know y'all have gone over this in some of your other podcasts, and I encourage your listeners to go back and look at some of that stuff with Bubba Keith. Uh, but he played with the James Gang, of course, and then then he man he had the two most knockout records
Hmm.
in the world with the last two Point Blank records, On a Roll and American Excess.
Just
And
incredible stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
I got to tell you a quick story about myself and Bubba. When Bubba came back to town, I had just joined Savvy, and he invited Donnie, he invited Joel Parks, Didn't know anything about this, but he came to Savvy's and invited me. Well, I showed up at the Candlelight Inn. That's a kind of a rock and roll hub for to a restaurant that we always used to hang out. A lot
Mhm.
of people, Pantera, all of us kind of went there, and we practiced, and we practiced these beautiful songs, man. Songs like Nicole and Getaway.
Yeah,
So get this: Rusty Burns and I we were brothers from another mothers, right? Kind of like you and I,
yeah.
and a situation came up where they needed to change singers, and that part I don't like to talk about it because it talks about Big John O'Daniel, and Big John, he was part of Point Blank and did 5 of the greatest albums I've ever heard.
Mhm.
Uh, until Bubba came along, Bubba brought a new flavor, and but a lot of those songs we practice on, he moved on with Point Blank. During this time, they were looking for a singer. It all boiled down 20-year-old Ricky Lynn Gregg and the very experienced and great songwriter Bubba Keith. And I flew to Memphis and I auditioned, for Point Blank. But I told Bill Ham this. I said, "Listen, I know Bubba Keith, and he's your guy." And he looked at me, and goes, "Don't you want this? Don't you want this gig?" I go, "Of course I do." He goes, "Well, we'll decide that, son. Sing another song."
Mhm.
But Bubba got the job, and I was so happy because I was not ready for that kind of stress.
And now here you
Uh,
are. You're both playing those
I
songs
know, I know.
45, 50 years later.
He deserved that gig, man, and
Boy, what a
I very rarely bring it
serendipitous
up.
story, man.
I'm telling you,
Great
right?
stuff. Golly, this
Right.
is why we podcast, y'all. This is
Yeah.
why.
The story behind the story.
Yeah, we're documenting music history here, one episode at a time.